Greetings, this is Obi-Wan Kenobi, and I have drifted into the underworld. The Star Wars Underworld. I have a bad feeling about this.
Here we go. We must go to the lower levels. The underworld.
You've taken your first step into a larger world.
You're after something.
Ben.
Since I've started the underworld, I've met so many great friends.
Chris.
I grew up in the 1990s, and mall packaging is nostalgic for me.
Dominic.
What I love most about Star Wars is that it's fun and it's all-round good times.
So, this is where the fun begins.
May the Force be with us.
This thing really moves!
Whoa! I like this!
I can't believe you came all this way to see me.
Why am I not in the intro? I gotta come up with a snappy line.
Well, hello again, everybody, and welcome back to the Star Wars Underworld Podcast, your weekly source for all the latest breaking Star Wars news, reviews, and discussion. And this week, we'll be talking about Tem Morrison begging and pleading with the world, the universe, the galaxy, Jon Favreau, Dave Filoni, and everybody else for a second season of the Book of Boba Fett. He actually seems pretty languid about it, but he'd like to do it, and I think a lot of people would like to see it. So we'll talk about that. We'll also touch on this screening of the original cut of Star Wars that screened at the BFI last weekend. And we'll be answering some of your questions in another iconic edition of our beloved segment, Ask the SWU. First, though, introductions are in order in case you're new to the show or you've forgotten who we are. That can happen. My name is Dominic Jones, and with me, as always, is the founder of the Star Wars Underworld. It's Ben Hart, the Star Wars guy.
How's it going, everybody? I really am not used to going first. I'm not used to being the first introduced. So, yeah, it's good to be back. And, yeah, Tem is really out there, man. I applaud his just determination in this. And I am 100% behind him. Like, I want chapter 2 of Book of Boba Fett. Like, give it to me. So give Tem what he wants, please.
Just so that he can, keep showing up at Celebration and having new stories to tell. That, I think, alone is worth making a second season. Also, Ben, how many years have we been doing the show? You've been introduced like a bantha, exactly. You've been introduced so many times. All right. Also joining us, as always, from the Raeside, we got Hannah Raeside.
Hey, g'day there. Great to be back for another week of bants, and I wish I had more insight and kind of exclusivity of my own perspective, seeing as me and Tim are like this now, the number of times I talked to that guy. But yeah, I'll have a lot to say on that matter. But yeah, excited to be back and to be here. Yeah.
All right. Chris, unfortunately, unable to join us, but not to worry. In his place, we got a good friend of the show from the band F105. We got our friend Din. Din, welcome back. Din doing his best to get us demonetized on YouTube right out of the gate. And currently sitting in the most comfortable position ever with a guitar leaned up behind his head.
I'm cosplaying as Darth Maul.
Yeah, it looks good. It looks good. The horns work.
I can see it.
Okay. Thank you.
Is Darth Maul the most punk rock Star Wars character? Let's start there.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. Who's the most rock and roll? Maul.
Yeah, Maul's the most rock and roll. Yeah.
Maul's most rock and roll.
Yeah.
The horns, the tattoos. I think.
Yeah. Who's the least rock and roll Star Wars character? Let's turn it around.
C-3PO.
yeah. That's good. That's a good shout. Yeah.
Also, Kenobi. I think he's too posh for that.
You don't think Kenobi could rock?
He's kind of a square.
He's kind of a square. I feel like Han Solo has a bit of rock to him, a little bit. Not traditional, but yeah, he's got a bit.
Yeah, definitely. Well, that's why that song came to me, because I was jamming it during the intro, the solo thing, And every time I did that, I went,
"Oh yeah, yeah, I love it. So good.
Matthew Hart in the chat's pointing out that Ewan McGregor can sing. So if we ever wanted to flip the script on Obi-Wan Kenobi being rock and roll, Ewan could, and I'm sure would do it. That's the second season of Kenobi that
Someone's got to send us a clip
missing
of Ewan singing.
Or just watch Moulin Rouge.
Yeah, I was gonna say he sang. It was a movie that.
Moulin Rouge.
In the name of love, one more in the name of love. I love that movie, man. That movie is so good. I wish I was an artist in turn of the century, 20th century Montmartre, France.
There you go.
Hanging out with Toulouse-Lautrec and Picasso and Ewan McGregor.
And Ewan McGregor, apparently.
And what's her name before she had the lip job? Not big.
No idea.
Lip jobs. The Botox.
The Aussie, bloody what's her face?
The bloody Aussie.
Yeah.
Narrows it down.
Nicole
Kidman. Yeah.
Oh, that lady I see in AMC movie theaters. She really likes AMC. That lady, yeah.
Oh,
in the commercials, yeah.
She's great in that. That movie kills me every time.
Yeah. Well, thank you everybody for tuning into the Moulin Rouge Underworld. We'll continue our discussion of the extended Moulin Rouge universe in just a minute. No, Din, you're here in part to talk some Star Wars, but in part to promote a new event you've got coming up. That's coming up 1 week from today. Tell us about Resistance Fest.
Yeah, well, I'm quite proud of the fact that I convinced the leader of one of Canada's, even the world's remaining legacy punk bands, the Mahones, to headline a festival where we mashed punk rock and Star Wars. And resisting the idea of becoming the 51st state. So, as you know, people might know about me. I tend to think that there's no point in Star Wars unless you take the messages into your real life. But I'm not really a good example of that, I don't think. But I am trying, I think, with this festival. Yeah.
So what's coming up at Resistance Fest? Mahomes are playing, F-105's playing. What can people expect? Where is it? When is it? All the key.
Oh yeah, that stuff. Yeah, Thursday, June 26th at Canada's most famous and legendary and popular rock and roll club, the Horseshoe Tavern, made famous with surprise appearances, but often by our most famous band in Canada, the Tragically Hip, put on the map by Stompin' Tom Connors, and lots of secret shows there by bands like the Rolling Stones.
There you go.
And that's Thursday, June 26th, 8 p.m., Queen and Spadina, Toronto. Yeah, we're going to have lots of cool stuff going on, like Star Wars-y stage props, and hosted by Mon Mothma, Ash, our friend Ash. What would people know her from? She does the Taylor. Sorry.
I was just going to say her Twitter tweets are pretty good.
Yes. Yeah, Ash very active with Star Wars social media accounts, and does like the Mon Mothma project, where she goes through and watches and reads every Mon Mothma thing, and has been on Ion Canon several times with Matthew and Joel. So people can check that out and see what she's all about. It's going to be she's a real presence, and she's going to bring a lot of fun to this event for sure.
Yeah, we have a few other exciting things, like Order 416 is going to be there in cosplay. We got to have Kylo Ren if it's Resistance Fest. T-shirts designed and made.
I was going to ask about those.
Me at the Dinart Studio here. This is my studio couch. It's got paint on it. Go ahead.
I was going to ask about the T-shirts because they look pretty good, and I think they're pretty good too. Tell us about.
Do you have any old men hitting on you? Whenever Dom wears the F-105 sweatshirt, he has old men talking him up like all day long about that.
When I wear an F-105 sweatshirt to work, inevitably men who are, let's say, 55 and older think this means I'm a big airplane fan and want to talk to me about airplanes because it has an airplane on it. And
it's a famous Canadian jet.
It's a famous Canadian jet, and they get passionate about it. And I'm sitting there like, it's a cool band. You should check out the band.
It's an old man magnet.
Apparently. The t-shirt though, describe it for everybody listening. What does it look like? And is it only going to be available at Resistance Fest, or might there be other opportunities for it?
Yeah, you know what? For people that it's basically mashing, the Rebel Alliance logo and the Canadian flag, which works perfectly because the Rebel Alliance logo is like a very basic graphic shapes, I guess, of what would be the Phoenix head and wings. Yeah, so just mash those. Yeah, my idea was that we would be like a Canadian rebel cell in Toronto.
Yeah.
And this would be our logo. Another really cool thing that I should mention is the lineup. We have the Mercenaries. They have like 24 albums out, and I think the leader of that band is one of Canada's best songwriters. And also Monica Mendoza, a new singer-songwriter. She's starting out in Toronto. And then we have a band from Kingston, Ontario, where the Mahones are from, called the Petras. And they're an all-girl punk rock band. Just in their early days, inspired by bands like the Runaways and the Beaches here in Canada. People probably don't know them, but yeah.
There you go. Yeah, it's a sick lineup. It's going to be a fun night of Star Wars themed, Resistance themed, punk rock, Horseshoe Tavern. Next Thursday, it will mean you'll have to miss the live Star Wars Underworld podcast recording.
Yeah.
So
please come and make it worth it, because by doing this, in all seriousness, I've knowingly risked not being able to enter the States by doing this.
There we go.
I think please come out to support me on that. Yeah. Because if they, look through my feed at the border and they find my post in this fest, they're not going to want to let me in. But I really felt like we have a great prime minister who's been doing good at keeping us a sovereign nation, Mark Carney. He really took down some partisan lines too. Like we had Ontario's conservative premier was getting people to vote for him and not the conservative candidate who would have sold us out in the federal election. So I think we're really coming together on this in a nonpartisan way. And I just felt like we had this cool prime minister, but it's not enough to have a cool prime minister. That we all need to be doing something, whatever it is we can do.
Yeah, you can have a cool politician, you can have Mon Mothma, but you also need Cassian Andor, you need Jyn Erso, you need Luke Skywalker and Han Solo and Princess Leia and all of them.
Yeah.
Ben, you were about to say something?
No, I just, it is nice to have someone in a position of power on this continent that's mostly sane. And also I think
cool. He's funny.
I think also Star Wars in and of itself, we talk about the lessons of Star Wars, and Star Wars teaches us of just like, oh hey, big bad guy, if we just get rid of the big bad guy, everything will be fine. And maybe you have to kill him a few times, but eventually everything will be okay. And we take that to heart, I think, a little too much here in the real world. Of just like, hey, we get rid of that one guy, everything will be fine. Like, no, it's a system. We all have to all participate. We all have to do our part to fight back and fight for what's right. And you can't just rely you just can't just elect the one guy. Oh yeah, you go after him. I'm just gonna sit in my comfort and not do anything. Nah, it don't work like that.
Yes.
Yeah, and so I'm just hoping this festival
it's a non-violent event.
Yeah, well, as an activist, I've always been a non-violent activist. That would always be my path. But the SG is mightier than the laser sword. Or an elegant weapon for a more civilized age. Used for knowledge and defense. I think I love the USA. I truly love it. I think it's all about root ideas, that led to this, not just systems. It would be maybe a better idea to be life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness for all by all than just the individual, and that could be a problem. So that's the only critique I would really have as a core foundational thing for the states. Obviously, Canada has really bad things too, like our genocide of Indigenous people and the ideas of manifest destiny, British colonialism that created that. But I do think that we have some really cool things that make us us, and one of those would be universal health care and how we fought for that. And I just want to remain a sovereign country and I just don't want anyone, especially a big orange, big greasy orange dude telling me who I am. We know who we are. But worst case, Ontario. If we became a part of the states, I'd just go live as a homeless musician on Venice Beach.
There you go.
Because that is actually my dream.
Could be worse.
There's always an upside. There you go.
As Nemec says in Andor, every small act of resistance moves the lines forward, and that is the idea of Resistance Fest. As we mentioned, Thursday, June 26th, 8 p.m. Horseshoe Tavern, downtown Toronto. The Mahomes with F-105, the Mercenaries, the Petras, and Monica Mendoza. It's going to be a great night of Star Wars music, resistance, rebellion, all the best things. Tickets are still available. You can get them online. We'll put a link to them in the description for this video and the podcast. So you can just have a look on your phone and order a ticket and then come out and, we'll be there. We'll have a good show.
Hey, can I stay on for the Book of Boba Fett discussion part of the show, and then I'll head out?
Because no, you have to leave we were now.
Talking about that, but I really want to talk about that. I recently watched it. So.
All right, so let me quickly remind everybody. Also, make sure you subscribe to Star Wars Underworld. Subscribe on Apple Podcasts, YouTube, Spotify, wherever you get your shows. That way, you'll never miss an episode. If you're listening live and you want to super chat with us, that's a way to guarantee your inclusion in this week's Ask the SWU segment. You can also become a channel member if you like what we're doing and want to go the extra mile in support. And you can leave us a review on Apple Podcasts, YouTube Music, Spotify, or any other platform that lets you do so. It really helps us get the word out about the show. And in between shows, you can join our Discord for more fun discussions and game nights and movie nights. Ben, you changed the plan and you watched Spaceballs after me saying I would be there, and then gave me like 4 hours of notice and I couldn't be there. So,
well, I mean,
what the hell, man?
I knew you would come up with some excuse for not showing up. So, it doesn't really surprise me. I'm in a chat with Joel, and I'm told Joel's like, "Oh, Dom said he would be there." Okay, I'm gonna tell him. I'm like, Dom is not coming. Okay, he's not coming. I just know this. And he's like, "Oh, Dom said he's not coming." I'm like, "Oh, I told you he wasn't." Despite the fact that he only had a couple hours notice, and we changed the plan last minute and all that kind of stuff. That's beside the point.
Yeah, what the hell, Joel? I'm gonna blame Joel for this.
We'll come back to Visions at some point. Apologize to everyone, but we will be doing a game night for we're playing some Smash Bros this week, so come join us for that.
There you go. Join the Discord. Come play some video games, and you can follow us on social media at the SWU to keep up with everything going on in Star Wars. And make sure you check out the other shows on the Star Wars Underworld Network, like the Raeside, Ion Cannon, Tales from Beyond the Galaxy, the Tractor Beam, and more. I was on Ion Cannon this week. The aforementioned Joel, who I blame for the Spaceballs thing, him and we had a great conversation.
100% his fault.
We had a great conversation about the old Thrawn trilogy. Talked to Heir to the Empire, Dark Force Rising, and The Last Command. It was a really fun conversation looking back on those books, and maybe doing a little comparing and contrasting with the current state of Star Wars media. It was an interesting conversation. So do check that out on the same YouTube channel as this, also on the Ion Cannon feeds in your podcatcher. Okay, let's talk Book of Boba Fett. Tem Morrison, he's always out and about, and he's never shy with his opinions on things. He was interviewed by Collider this week. He's promoting a new movie called In the Fire of War. And he was asked, hey, what's going on? When are we going to see with Book of Boba Fett season 2? People are sad there isn't a season 2. He says, I'm sad too. Where is the Book of Boba Fett season 2? Where the hell is season 2? I know they're doing Ahsoka season 2. I'm going, where's my season 2? I don't want to attempt a Tamora Morrison impression, but I can absolutely hear him saying that. He goes on to say, Dave and John, I actually ran into them at Star Wars Celebration. You know what it's like when you see those guys, they got a look on their face where there's so much going on. I go, hey, remember Boba Fett? We had a big hug. And at the end of the day, I said, look, I'm not sure what you've got going on. But anyways, I had a great time. Thank you so much. So it made me feel like, when you go to grandma's house and she had a preservative jar of peaches on the shelf, that's what I think about. I'm one of those peaches and I've been put up on the shelf. I've been preserved for a later date and I'm going to be tastier. So yeah, anyways, that's all that's happening. That's all I've heard. I know they're doing Ahsoka too. Geez, I need to be in that Andor. What a show, Andor. Again, Tamora Morrison.
Dude is insane, and I love it. I love every minute of it. Oh my god,
insanely awesome. You mean?
So good.
He's also just trying to pitch himself to play other characters. It says, "I'm trying to ring them up. Can I be Captain Rex with his helmet off, please?" Dude just wants to come back to Star Wars.
Yeah.
Hannah, you've talked to Tem on more than one occasion.
Yes.
What do you think of this? What do you think about his campaign for Book of Boba Fett season 2?
There is no difference to him when he's in front of a camera making these comments to him off camera just talking to you as a normal person. Like this is just his permanent personality, which I love. Very chaotic, but also just very impassioned. And I love that. We never can really know what's going on back there. They might have tried a season 2. They might have be still writing a season 2. They might have genuinely completely shelved the season 2. We really don't know. But I think, I don't read too much into the actor comments because you have, for the past 5 years, all types of actors, live action, what have you, saying, oh, I'm not going to be in this show, or I'm not doing this, or I'm not doing anything. And then the next week they show up in the show that you just asked them about. So you really can't take it at face value. But what I take away is just like, again, he's so impassioned to be a part of Star Wars still. And I think he's an incredible asset. Like, I think, aside from Hayden and Ewan, like I think for the vast majority of what we call general Star Wars fans, or just the general audience, like they would know Tamora Morrison. They would know that face. They would know he's in Star Wars. And he's got quite an iconic kind of just signature look, helmet and no helmet now. So I think it would be incredibly misused opportunity to not have him back in something. I mean, the idea of a Book of Boba Fett season 2, I would absolutely die for and pay all the money in the world for. Because I think out of all the shows, I think that show is the most deserving of a season 2. I think he's got a fair point being like, Ahsoka's got one, give me one. But the likelihood of that happening, I'm not sure is that high. But I can definitely see him cropping up in something else. Like if not the Mando movie, he could come back in an Ahsoka season 2. He could come back in a Dave Filoni movie. Whether or not as Boba or as a clone. So yeah, I just don't take it as face value, and it's great to hear that he does really still love Star Wars. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think the word on the street is like they're not really doing more shows after Ahsoka season 2, but if the Mando movie is successful, they'll do more movies. So they could do, we know that Filoni has a movie coming out eventually that will tie all of this stuff together, but they might do some other movies in between Mandalorian and Grogu, and that would carry on that story. And that could certainly be a place you get the Din Djarin Boba Fett team up movie or something that carries on sort of the legacy of both Mandalorian and Book of Boba Fett, on the big screen. Din, you said you rewatched Book of Boba Fett recently. What do you think about season 2 of the idea of more of that show?
Hannah made a bold claim.
Oh, what with?
The most deserving of a season 2
100%, without a doubt.
Okay, so
all the shows.
all right. That's an interesting opinion there you got there. No, I want to actually know why though. I want to what it's the ideas of Star Wars that really get me going. So what would be the idea? Like why do a season 2? That's my question. Don't answer yet.
I'll sit on
what
that.
I was struck by with the Book of Boba Fett was how kind of jumbled and weak it is, but how much promise it kind of has for things. Like this as a whole, it's very disjointed. I don't like the mods are like the most horrible design I've ever seen in Star Wars ever. Like those speeders and the stiff, like the mod shop, like all the set, like that. I don't know, man. That was weird. And I don't know, it was weird, and not in a good weird way. And the second episode where Boba Fett goes on the Vision Quest, what would be called in ancient spiritual traditions, or Joseph Campbell's distillation of it, the initiatic journey, where one takes the first steps to find that they are larger than their physical being, and therefore they find some purpose in connecting to themselves in the spirit realm, and then coming back to connect to other beings in a more compassionate and useful way, as he does with the Tusken tribe. That was awesome. Cad Bane was awesome. He was great. He was perfectly executed. He was terrifying. The episodes with Cobb Vanth, amazing. Like, I love Timothy Oliphant. I love Deadwood. He just basically plays the Deadwood sheriff. That was iconic in Star Wars, and I love that. He's got an amazing head of hair, very thick for his elder age, and handsome dude. I love that scene where his deputy comes out and is giving Din Djarin poodoo for where he's parking, and just Timothy Oliphant is so cool. I want to see more of that guy, but he's dead, so that's depressing. But
he's
just
in the back
he's
of
like,
the tank. He's not officially dead. He's just in the back.
Oh, really? Because Timothy Oliphant's my favorite
final
thing to happen in Star Wars, like, ever. Just his delivery when he's like the tense standoff with Cad Bane is a perfect Western standoff. That was a great moment. Just and the way the deputy comes out and he's like, he's new, still a little jumpy. Just oh man, he was the quintessential sheriff in Star Wars. The funny guy who's like the assistant to the gangster
Major Domo dude.
He's hilarious.
Oh,
he's hilarious.
His name is literally Major
best.
Domo. I'm not even.
Another
best
like
original
he's got those handsome, sexy tails too. He doesn't want to see more of those. Pelimoto is just she couldn't withstand the power of those things. Upon first glance, that was interesting.
Who could blame her?
One of the best things that Star Wars has ever done was the episode with Luke. Hear me out why. When Star Wars can give you this certain feeling that only the best fantasy can, and Joseph Campbell called it, when movies are done right, it's dreams put on celluloid or film. I may have added celluloid myself, but when I remember after Attack of the Clones came out, I had a dream that I was Anakin Skywalker and Padme was my girlfriend, and I was on a hero's quest to try to save her life, but it was because I couldn't let go. And it was a very profound dream. And that made me realize,
just dreamed Revenge of the Sith.
No, Attack of the Clones. So what I'm trying to say, yeah. But okay, right. But what I'm trying to say is that, like, George Lucas knew that, and he could cast that spell on people, even if it's not the tightest movie. Attack of the Clones is not the tightest movie, but it casts that spell. And the Book of Boba Fett one of the best scenes that's ever happened in all of fantasy is the scene with Luke, and the way it's shot. It's like a tarot card, and in tarot cards, I think I've talked about this before. You could draw Luke and Grogu, and not even Grogu, but just draw Luke with the two choices of the two hands. And if you pull that tarot card, you got to make your own choice. Am I going to go with Din back to that family, or am I going to stay with Luke? What's selfish? What's selfless? And the power of a tarot card or any archetype or iconography on that level or fantasy is that it can make you, the viewer, question yourself. What would I do? And the magic, and I think Luke, that was perfect mix of AI, CGI, and Mark Hamill and an actor. I think that's Lucasfilm at its best, when they could really nail pushing the technological envelope forward. I think they haven't done it. That was the pinnacle of them pushing the envelope forward in true Lucasian fashion, pulling off Luke in that episode. And then just casting that spell of that dreamlike quality of what it would be like to be a student with Luke is, I think, one of the best things that I've ever seen in all of fantasy, not just Star Wars. So more of that. Sure.
Yeah, I was gonna say, it sounds like you've made the pitch for season 2. I think you've answered. Yeah. You might have answered the question that you asked Hannah.
So season 2, yes.
Why should there be a season 2? That everything you just laid.
I mean, if it's more of a book thing where it's not Boba Fett, where each chapter was maybe a book that related to his story, maybe has to be different, because the whole thing together as a whole wasn't tight. But the Book of Boba Fett definitely had moments of the greatest Star Wars, namely the Tusken episode and the Luke episode, and then just pulling off Cad Bane, that terrifying.
Yeah. Ben, what show do you think is most deserving of a season 2?
I don't know. I mean, right. Look, I'm going to be honest here. Okay. No disrespect to Tem Morrison, but I think the show that has like the best queue up for like a season 2, the one that I think would be the most entertaining, and it's up there as one of my favorite shows, is Skeleton Crew. Like, full stop. That's the show if I had to pick.
Bro,
don't bro me. Don't bro me. I don't want to hear it.
No, that's a great show. The Suburb was designed well, but it was a stupid idea, and it was a great show. Okay.
I love how Din just puts these things together. He's like, that's dumb, but also here's why it's great.
No. It's just designed well. Good. It's just designed well. It just looks like Springfield, Massachusetts, 2060, not a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. But so
we're not gonna.
It's got gray roads with gray concrete, a curb and sidewalks, and it looks, like I'm gonna walk outside my neighborhood in Parkdale and see that. It's weird. Okay, that's it.
I can't explain the greatness of Skeleton Crew to you tonight. Okay, I don't have time.
No, but the whole show is great. I agree with you.
I will say,
I'm with Jeff in the comments. I thought you were going to say Acolyte.
That's what I thought. I thought for sure that's where we were going there.
I'm not the one to go to bat for Acolyte. I will support anyone who does, but I'm not that guy. Okay, I'm not that guy.
I want Acolyte.
In regards to Book of Boba Fett. I think as a show overall, I think it's a shame, because I think it has gotten a bad rap, as a lot of the shows have, and I think, it's just a general fandom of just like good, bad, like Andor good, everything else bad, and just like throw it away. It has no redeeming qualities to it at all. And that's just a thing in film criticism that we have to get over one of these days. But I think, yes.
Or like all of reality in the world today.
Let's just keep it contained here. That's going to go off into directions we can't control here. And don't get me started.
That's what I'm here for.
But like Book of Boba, I think, does it have issues? Oh yeah, it's got issues. I mean, it has a weird legacy just in the fact that, halfway through it becomes The Mandalorian season 2.5, and the Luke stuff and like the discourse around that show, just like, when you get to that Luke episode, just like, oh, what is this Boba Fett show without Boba Fett? And also Din and Grogu are here and they're rushing this, and also Luke's here, and how does everybody feel about Luke being CGI and all this kind of stuff? And like it was taken away from Boba Fett, I think. And ultimately, like I think a lot of people have said, like, and I've been saying it, like, I think they owe Tem Morrison, they owe Boba Fett a few episodes at least, because, they took part of his season away from him. And I think, it is a weird thing. And yeah, there's some
they
great
need a season 1.5.
I mean, yeah, I guess you could put it that way. But, I think there's a lot of great ideas in it. I think this episode 2 is amazing. And I'm not a hater of the mods, but I do appreciate that Book of Boba Fett is a wacky show. It is truly wacky at times. And it doesn't, I mean, it lends itself to the fact that Tem Morrison in real life, kind of a wacky guy. Like, who would have thought like a bantha would be a meme that Boba Fett would popularize? Like, it's just whacked out sometimes. And I love that about it. I love that thing. As much as I love Andor, I love the seriousness that Andor brings to the table, I still have a death grip on that silliness that I think is very much a part of what Star Wars is. And I don't want to lose that. And I think Book of Boba Fett brought that in, maybe sometimes a little too much, but overall, I really did enjoy it. And I would love to, I think the character arc that Boba Fett goes on, the arc that starts out as this guy who is trying to do something new, but also is still kind of vying for power and wants to take over Tatooine, take you from the Hutt, blah, blah, blah. And then ends it with like, I'm at the top and this doesn't feel right. I don't think we're, set up for this. I don't think we should be doing this. I think that actually sets up a really interesting idea for season 2. I foresee something that maybe he's not even on Tatooine. Maybe he's just given it up and he's gone elsewhere. Do I think there'll be a season 2 at this point? No, I wouldn't bet any money on it. I would love it. I think obviously there's a lot of season 2s and season 3s that are never going to get made, or at least not anytime soon. I think same opinion with the Acolyte. These stories will continue. I am firmly in the positive camp that any story that is left hanging, it will continue eventually, but it will not continue in the way that we think it will. I think the most likely option, I think, Dom, you put it best, like movies. I think we're going to movies. And I think if Mando and Grogu is successful, then weirdly, we could get a Boba Fett movie. It could happen. Remember the discourse
all
back
these
in
years later.
Remember the discourse back in 2010 and 2011. Nope, Joe Johnston's he wants to do a Boba Fett movie, blah, blah, blah. Oh no, there's not going to do any more Star Wars movies, blah, blah, blah. Like all this discourse. And now we're coming back to the fact that like, that's a real possibility. They have something perfectly teed up. I would expect something more along the lines of maybe a cameo in Mando and Grogu, or the second Mandalorian film, or the Heir to the Empire movie, or whatever else. He's out there. Tem obviously has a lot of gas left in the tank. He's not going anywhere. He's going to continue to beating this drum, and good for him. And I hope he does. And yeah, let him do Rex. Okay, let him play Rex. Like, he got to voice him for like 2 seconds. Like, let him take the helmet off. He's the perfect age for it. I think Ahsoka, I think that would be really fun. Even if it's just a cameo, it'd be fun. Like, what is Rex doing at this point? I know, like, technically in clone years, I actually figured this up the other day. He's like 90. Like, Rex is like 90 in this time period. So he's not as maybe chipper as he used to be, but like, he's still around. He's still fighting the good fight. And there's a war on. Captain Rex would be involved with that. What's he doing? I want to know.
Yeah, but maybe Rex is on a planet right now where people age slower, just like Ben was aging faster.
Time dilation.
Star Wars stuff. I think that if Dave Filoni is doing more Clone Wars-y stuff with Ahsoka or whatever, I mean, I think it's just a matter of time. We are getting Rex. We are getting Tem as Rex or under the helmet if Dave's doing that. There's no way he won't do that. The only reason I think he didn't in Ahsoka season 1 could have been budget, or just not wanting to overload the audience with cameos and stuff to detract from Ahsoka and Anakin. But I mean, I would bet money that that's coming soon.
Try to further like hide the fact that it was just basically Rebel season 5, which it was.
Was he credited at all in Ahsoka? Was it his voice that they utilized though?
Yeah, it definitely was his voice. Whether it was some sort of uncredited
He had
thing,
one line.
No.
What was the line?
I think it was
What
just
was
like,
the line?
He's like, come on,
Yeah.
grunts or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah, but so that would probably be just stuff that you took from the Revenge of the Sith.
But isn't there like there's a
audio.
close up of Rex, like it's
And
the
he,
live
like,
action armor.
waves
Doesn't he have some like specific line? I haven't watched
I
Ahsoka in
think
forever.
it's a
remember
new, I
that.
think it's a new line. I know, like Tim Morrison has recorded a lot of clone dialogue over the years, like going back to Republic Commando. But I think this is actually new dialogue that they put in the show. I think.
There we go. So that's the Book of Boba Fett, season 2. Maybe it'll happen. Unlikely, but maybe it'll happen
If
another
not for
way.
us,
From a
do
certain
it for
point of view.
Tem.
I mean,
do it for Hannah's BFF. Come on.
Yeah, please do it for my interviews. My interviews will pop off if he is like shown back in something. Yeah.
he'll be in the Filoni movie. They were setting everything up to be some sort of epic crossover, and you can't do that without Boba Fett. All right, Dan.
Yeah, because every time Mark Hamill says he's done with Star Wars, it actually means he has a new project. Like,
yeah, exactly.
Every time he said that, he said that before he appeared in Mando.
He did a whole open letter saying goodbye after the Rise of Skywalker, and then he's back less than 12 months later in Mando in the Mando finale. It's like, okay, we see what you're doing.
Smoke and
Mark.
mirrors. Smoke and mirrors.
Exactly. So Din, is this where we're leaving you? Is this where?
Yeah. Thank you for having me on to promote the fest. And
Absolutely.
talking Book of Boba Fett was super fun.
Absolutely.
Good
So everybody
time.
should
Always a good time.
everybody
Thank
should
you,
be
thank you.
looking for tickets for Resistance Fest if you're in Toronto or the surrounding area. Come on out. It's gonna be a great time next Thursday. And you can follow Din on social media. It's at F105 Music, correct?
Yeah, at F105 Music. Yeah, and I'm really excited about debuting the band version of a new song called The Call. It's a hero's journey song, I guess. I thought it was stupid. It's a punk song, and when I played it for Finney, his jaw dropped, and he said it was like his two favorite bands, The Clash and The Who. So it was pretty funny. I thought the song was dumb, but now I love it. So I'm looking forward to debuting that. And we're doing an all-star Clash encore led by the Mahones, which is going to be fun.
There you go.
I'm supposed to be singing Police on My Back, which I think I'm going to change to Jedi on My Back.
So good.
There we go. All right.
Thanks,
Dan.
Anna, Ben, Dom.
Bye. Bye, Din.
Bye. All right. We'll keep moving here. So this is an interesting story. You guys hear about this? There was a screening of A New Hope in London, England last weekend. But it wasn't your average screening of A New Hope. It wasn't, the version that you've got on DVD or Blu-ray. It wasn't the version that's streaming on a streaming service. It was an original print of the movie from 1978 in Technicolor.
Wow.
Sans any of the special edition changes. It's screened in London, and Kathleen Kennedy was there. She was there for two reasons. One, to promote all the new Star Wars things that she's working on, and two, to reassure everybody that they weren't at an illegal screening, because it sort of seemed illegal when it was announced. She said, the typical things you expect from Kathleen Kennedy. They're preparing to shoot Star Wars Starfighter in September. They're starting to put together plans for the 50th anniversary of Star Wars, and there's going to be a big celebration, all that. But they did screen. They screened the original cut of A New Hope. Ben, what was your reaction when you heard that this was happening? That this is something because this is something people have been talking about for years, wanting to see. They don't. People are angry, shaking their fists at the sky. Old men yelling at clouds, and saying they want to see the despecialized editions of Star Wars. What do you think about the fact that a screening like that actually happened?
Yeah, I mean, because this has been a thing for as long as I think any of us can remember. Of just like special edition versus the original cut, whatever else. And then you look into it, you're like, okay, what is the original cut? Look at the history of that. The fact that like when the movie was releasing, there was different sound edits and cuts of it, stuff happening. that there is like the original is like there's multiple things, and I'm assuming 1978 there would have been several different technically cuts out there, and everybody remembers what they saw in 1977, 1978, and I get it. Like I remember being very dismissive of that. People like, oh, angry people, whatever. And then you have the Blu-ray changes that came along around 2011, 2012, and like Vader screaming no in Return of the Jedi, and I was just like, no, I don't like that. Like, you can't do that. You can't change my movies. Like, and now I was getting a taste of my own medicine. So I do understand, like, the original version that you saw, that you're familiar with, you've seen 1 billion times. You want it, and this is amazing that they've uncovered this. And Kathleen Kennedy, I think, was on a stage that said basically like, this is very rare that they found this print and they showed it. Apparently it wasn't very good quality. There was some talk about that. I don't know. I haven't.
Well, that was
there, but.
Ben, that just to cut you off there, because I found that was really, really funny about all this is that everybody says for years has said, I want this. This is the real version. This is the true version. And the reaction out of it was actually, oh, this version actually doesn't look very good. It's missing all of the the enhancements that you don't notice. Because that's the thing about the special editions is there's so much in there that is not the obvious changes.
There's additions, and there's also there's new sound mixes, there's new enhancements, there's restorations that happened over the years.
Because you think about the special editions, you think Greedo shooting first, you think Jedi rocks instead of Laptinek, you think about the sort of CGI entrance to Mos Eisley, all that stuff, and I can understand why people might be frustrated by those things, but there's so much more just subtle work that went into it. And watching the movie without that, it sounds like you miss the special editions a little bit. Hannah, thankfully we've had enough other Star Wars content over the years that we haven't really spent much time talking about this on the show. So I actually don't know what you think of the special edition, non-special edition debate that raged on the internet for years leading up to this.
Yeah. So interesting. I mean, I get it. People love originals. People love what they grew up with. People love what they first saw. And, they have nostalgia around that. They have kind of just this protectiveness around that. And that's cool. And that's awesome. But kind of like what you're saying is like these re-edits, additions, and just improvements over the years, because there's been so many like waves of it. Enhance the movies, and all these changes have been mainly George, like he was the one being like, I changed this now, let's add this now, until he sold it. So they're really necessary for the movie to kind of function as he wanted it to. So I find it interesting that it's like an argument kind of thing, because it's just like, it just makes the movie better, and that's what his vision was. And I think it's kind of lesson learned. It was like, okay, let's watch the original. Even I think there's something almost like a sacred element to that, being like, oh, this is cool seeing this is the original like filmic version, but it's not going to be 4K Blu-ray incredible everything. Like it's not like
it's going to look like a movie from 1977.
Yeah, exactly.
And this is
a
film print that's almost 50 years old. It's been probably sitting in someone's attic or something. I don't know where it was.
I think Ben, it was in the archives of the British Film Institute. So I think it's a little bit better preserved than the one in somebody's attic.
Hopefully so. But it does, we've had this debate over and over again. Will they do this? And I remember, there was a DVD release, I think. This has been probably 15 years ago at least, they released the original trilogy individually, and then you could get a bonus disc with the quote-unquote original cut of the movie. And I remember there was complaints about even then of this is bad quality, this isn't the movie that I watched, this is this was things, and I don't remember the specifics. I just know people weren't happy with that. It didn't quell people. It was like a a thing from George at the time being like, well, you wanted the original, here it is in all its, bad quality, basically. And, it does beg the question now of, you have Kathleen Kennedy, because we've said like, okay, well, she wouldn't want to do this. Maybe she had a deal with George. Maybe George has something written in his will about, don't you dare show this to the public. Don't you dare release this until I'm gone or something like that. Like, we don't know what the deal is.
I like that he put it in his will.
But she's out here, signing off on this and jokingly, but also seriously saying like, this is something we've signed off on. You found this. We're allowing you to show this. Obviously they would have got permission from Lucasfilm. Now what is the next step? Like, this is out there. Would they, because I know there have been fan attempts at unspecializing the movies, doing basically what's not the original version of the movie, but what's also not the special edition, which is kind of this hybrid between the two, which is better graphics, better stuff, but as close to the original as possible, the closest people remember them being, which obviously people's memory 50 years later, not so reliable. But it does beg the question of like, would Lucasfilm do something like this? Would they release this? Would they commit time and money to, okay, now we're going to release this for posterity. We're going to restore this original print and release it on Blu-ray, or, I've always thought like, there's a bunch of different versions of A New Hope, especially. Do a Disney Plus, have you be able to select the different versions of A New Hope that you want. The 1977 cut, the 1980 cut, the 1997 cut, the 2013 cut, like whatever else you want to watch.
Yeah. I think what this screening suggests is like, maybe there's a version, there's a future where like one-offs like this can happen, where they can show this print or some version of this print of the movie to audiences at events. Like, I think this was part of a film festival. You could do something like that where you show it, once or twice a year at specific events. It doesn't become the official quote unquote version. It doesn't show up on home media in any way. It just sort of becomes a little treat for people to see if you can go to the right event. And that way you can sort of preserve the like historical nature of this cut of the movie, while also honoring George's wishes to have his version of the movie be the movie. I do view, as much as I want to see this from like, again, a historical perspective, I want to see the 1977 version of Star Wars. See the version of the movie that made the world fall in love with it in the first place. I also feel very strongly that, it is George's movie. He's the artist. He gets to decide what it is, and the rest of us can take it or leave it. And if we don't like it, we can move on. And
allowing it to be shown in public kind of does two things. For one, it can kind of, especially in this instance, it can kind of show Lucasfilm of, okay, here's the thing. And then people watch it and they go, wow, this kind of looks bad. We kind of like the special edition version. Kind of Lucasfilm going like, well, okay, you got it. And, you guys are never going to be happy. So whatever else. And, maybe for the general public being like, okay, maybe I'll just stick to the newer version. Maybe I'll just do this. Maybe I don't need that original version in my DVD collection as much as I thought I did. Obviously, for film history, like you're saying, like to see the movie that won those Oscars back in 78, like that movie that won all those awards, that was so lauded, that got people up in arms, lines around the block, all the history that surrounds that original movie, without the additions. Because there's even watching them in retrospect, I've only ever watched the special edition. There's some changes that I'm like, George, what were you thinking? What's with the Ronto in front of the camera? What are you doing? Why do you have to do that?
Yeah, I don't know. I like it. It's goofy, but I get it. I know you're supposed to be like going into this like gritty, dingy place, and maybe having some swinging Jawas is maybe not the it doesn't necessarily set the tone.
It's a tad much. But could have toned it down just I get like pre special edition Mos Eisley is very boring. It's just like people in hoods and mask walking around
Yeah.
in Tunisia.
Yeah.
Like it's very,
Very
boring.
lifeless.
But like
Yeah,
George
yeah.
like took it to the next level and be like, oh yeah, here we go. Jawa's swinging around. You got droids fighting other droids. It's gonna be great.
Yeah. All right. So we'll keep a lookout for this. It'll be interesting. Kathleen Kennedy mentions, the 20th or 50th anniversary of Star Wars celebrations are already being planned. I think it's safe to say seems likely that a release of A New Hope, a re-release, another sort of week-long one like we got for Revenge of the Sith this year seems likely. The question now is, though, maybe is it going to be this version or is it going to be the current official version? I think the reaction to this so far suggests it will be the official version, and also that'd be kind of, I don't know, it'd be kind of rude to George. He doesn't like this version. Doesn't like this version very much.
Like let's face it. There's more people now, especially kids, that have only seen the special edition version. Like, and they're like, if they went in and watched, like, oh, I'm gonna sit down with my kids and watch the original 1977 version of Star Wars. Like they're gonna be like, what the hell is this? Where's my Jawas? Where's my CGI Jabba the Hutt? Where's my Boba Fett? Where is this?
What the hell is this terrible Lap D-neck song? Give me Jedi Rocks.
The human Jabba has to be like the biggest jump scare if you hadn't seen it, like that version. It's rough. Yeah.
But it does like make that line from Harrison Ford actually make sense. Jabba, you're a wonderful human being. Like it and like you watch the movie now, it's like what wonderful human. Okay, also, whatever.
So that they had to do when they did CG Jabba, right? They had to work around the fact that Harrison walks around the guy. And the solution they came up with is they have him step on his tail, and so like Han like awkwardly like moves up and shakes. It's actually a really bad effect. I don't know, maybe it was great for 1997, but it doesn't hold up.
It's wild.
And it also doesn't make any sense that Han would step on Jabba's tail. I feel like
like
steps
they're
on
having
Jabba's
a dicey conversation.
Yeah,
it's just like, let me stomp on you.
It feels like A New Hope Jabba is just so approachable, and you just push him around. He's just like he's just a doofus. He's just this dude you just step on literally. And then like, oh, high exaltinus mighty Jabba in Return of the Jedi. Like, oh, now he's a god.
Yeah, he's not a slug man yet. He's just a kindly old Scottish dude. It's I feel like if you stepped on Jabba's tail intentionally like that, Boba Fett would shoot you in the face. I feel like that would be the immediate thing that happened. Anyways, I'm glad. I will say, like, Ben, I think when you and I first like got into Star Wars discussions and that sort of thing, special editions and this sort of thing was much more on people's minds, and I'm glad that it's something that very rarely comes up now, and it comes up now without a lot of the vitriol that it had back then. We've largely moved away from that, and where it can be something where it's just kind of interesting to see the original version, but people aren't out there screaming about how George ruined their lives somehow by
they're screaming about other things.
CGI Jabba. Yeah, they've got something else. They got other things to scream about.
I mean, we've moved as far as like cuts of movies go. We've moved on to bigger and better things. People talking about, they want to see the Edwards cut of Rogue One. They want to see the Lord and Miller cut of Solo. Like, the world has moved on from the special edition, hubbub. So
there we go. All right. Speaking of moving on, let's move on. We'll move into our Ask the SWU segment. This is where we answer your questions. We got a couple of questions from the Discord. For folks that are part of the Discord and saw Ben's very specific ask for questions this week, looking for questions about the 50th anniversary of the Star Wars Underworld, which was several months ago. We'll get to those on a future week. We should do those when
we're just planning ahead with that. We're getting that out there. So if you haven't seen that post, go to the Ask SWU section of the Discord and go leave your 15th anniversary Star Wars Underworld celebration questions or comments or anything you want to throw in there, or answer the question yourself. Would love to hear your feedback.
There you go. So what we'll go to instead is we've got some leftover questions from the last few weeks that we'll get to instead, and we'll get to the 15th anniversary stuff hopefully Well, not next week because I won't be here next week. I'll be at Resistance Fest. But in the next couple of weeks, we'll get to those and we'll look back on 15 plus years of the Star Wars Underworld. But we'll start our Ask the SWU segment, how we so often do, with a question from our friend Joel Davis. Joel says, "Hello, Underworld. My question for you this week addresses one of the stranger criticisms I've seen about Andor. The criticism goes, Andor is too good for Star Wars, that it would have been better as an original IP, free to fully explore its ideas without being hampered, quote unquote, by the larger Star Wars universe. I've seen people online argue that it's hard to take Andor seriously because at the end of the day, this is a galaxy ruled by space wizards. To them, nothing these everyday rebels do really matters, since the evil is only defeated when Vader has a change of heart and kills the Emperor. In their opinion, all the talk of rebellion and revolution ultimately amounts to nothing because that's not the real story of Star Wars. So basically, what are your thoughts on this? Is Andor held back by existing in the quote-unquote wacky fantasy land of Star Wars, or should it have been an original IP? Or does Andor work precisely because it shows a different grounded angle within the Star Wars universe? Would love to hear your thoughts on the Pod C. First and foremost, Joel, I think you're spending too much time online because I've never seen anybody have that criticism ever of Andor. That feels like a criticism you're like digging through pages and pages of Twitter to like find someone who's come up with that. I'm teasing, of course, Joel. I don't know. What do you think? Is Andor too good for Star Wars? That's the question.
I sort of get the sort of how this concept was based off, because I think even myself personally of season 1 had the argument of that conversation of how Star Wars is the show aesthetically and story wise. And I kind of had those criticisms, but season 2 is a different story. And I think it really cements itself in the Star Wars galaxy. But, you know, there's still that kind of pushing to people that's saying, oh, this is not Star Warsy enough for me, you know, whether that's down to the lack of Force, lack of Jedi, lack of aliens, you know, whatever it may be. I think is, you know, valid, fair that if you feel that way. But I disagree with the concept of this would be better as its own IP, even though it's such a strong story, it's such a powerful story, and the characters don't have really anything to do with the Skywalker saga in terms of the Skywalker family, I should say. You know, in that fact where it's like, could it live as a separate IP? Like technically. But I don't think it'll be nearly as strong or as powerful if it was. I think, in my point of view, I think it really holds a deep sort of cementing into its own story because it's within Star Wars. I think it really does aid that, and I really feel that in season 2, definitely just with the explanation and context of the Empire and what power it did. Like, we know how powerful the Empire is, so that's why we know the plight of Cassian and Mon Mothma and all these characters. We know why that is so important, because we have all this context of how widespread and covered the Empire is. Where if this was a standalone IP, you would have to build all that up again, being like, oh, there's this big bad government, like, which you can say, but you know, Star Wars has like 50 years of establishing that this empire functions like this. So, yeah, I definitely think it won't be as impressive or impactful if it was its own story.
Beth?
Yeah. So I am definitely one of those people that is chronically online, as they say. I read way too much internet chatter. And yes, I think I've seen at least a few of the people Joel is talking about. And you look, it has been refreshing and great to see so much positivity around a Star Wars project. It's perhaps the most positivity we've ever seen, because it seems like even in the past, when the fandom has kind of unanimously got on board with something, you know, critics have been less than kind, you know, vice versa. You know, I think, you know, criticism is criticism, whatever else. But it has been, you know, it's great to see like everyone is talking about how like Andor is like, again, like one of the greatest TV shows of the decade. And I'm just like, okay, I'm seeing this happen multiple times. People aren't being facetious. They aren't being like, maybe it's a little over the top to say, but I don't necessarily disagree with it. But the discourse has been mostly great, but there's been like 5% of it. And this goes back to season 1. That's just insufferable. It's just absolutely insufferable. And I try to tune it out, and I try not to go on, especially certain social media platforms, because those people definitely congregate. I'm not calling any names. I don't know any of you guys. But it is things, and there are people that are saying things like that, saying that, Star Wars is Andor is too good for Star Wars, or vice versa, or, using Andor as this weapon against other shows, which I think also is very unfair and just counterproductive. But is the answer no? Of course it's not. I think it's a representation of what how good Star Wars can be. And obviously, you can argue the semantics of, people saying, oh, is this Star Wars enough? Is there not enough aliens, or it's not Star Warsy enough? And, that's maybe my only hang up with the show, is that it does sometimes feel like a spy thriller with a Star Wars skin on it. I think that's just a very, very light criticism, because for the most part, I think it does do very well. I think Tony Gilroy and the whole team did a remarkable job of playing ball with Star Wars. They didn't have to do a lot of things they did to make it feel like Star Wars. It is a Star Wars show through and through. And I think, that is, I think Star Wars has always had a very good name. Everyone's always loved Star Wars. It's like one of the most popular things ever. So it is weird. People kind of create this narrative where it's like, oh, Star Wars sucked, but now it's awesome because Andor is good. And I'm like, where have you been for the last 45, 50 years? Everyone loves Star Wars. Everyone has their Star Wars that they like, but the quality is there. Yes. Star Wars, again, the whole narrative of well, Disney Star Wars is a mix. No, Star Wars was a mixed bag before George left, and it's a mixed bag afterwards. It's always going to be like that. There's going to be good stuff. There's going to be bad stuff. Andor is one of the good ones, and we should be thankful for that and not try to pit things against each other or create these weird narratives. Just be glad it exists. Be glad that we got Star Wars, and hopefully we can get Star Wars like Andor just as good or better in the future.
Mm-hmm. The one thing I just wanted to comment on this criticism that apparently exists, is that you can't take Andor seriously, because at the end of the day, it's a galaxy ruled by space wizards, and nothing that the rebels do really matters, since evil is only defeated when Vader has a change of heart and kills the Empire, or kills the Emperor. That's just a bad argument that isn't supported by anything. That's genuinely, I almost feel like that's a bad faith argument. And I say that as someone who is maybe a little bit of an Andor, I don't want to say elitist, but I do think it's miles ahead of anything else that they're doing. And I would like to see them do more things that are more like Andor. But that's it's a ridiculous argument, because all you have to do is watch the original trilogy, and it's very clear that Luke Skywalker, the person who gets Vader to have that eye-opening experience and turn back to the light, he doesn't get there without the rebellion. The rebellion is what leads him to that point. He's growing up on Tatooine making vroom vroom noises with his spaceship toys, not joining the fight. It's he doesn't get to be on the Death Star there, the second Death Star there, without the existing infrastructure of the Rebel Alliance. So I think it's a bad. That's just a bad argument. It's got holes in it so big you could fly Snoke's Star Destroyer through it. It's ridiculous. Yeah, there you go. Let's do another question from Joel. Let's do this one. He says, okay, this one's not 4 paragraphs long. It's only 1 paragraph. I like that. I think that's a good length for a question, Joel. Joel's just catching strays on this episode. I don't know why. Joel and I had a great conversation on Ion Cannon about the Tron.
I'm
the
glad. I
Tron
was
tri-
getting
the Tron
worried there for a
trilogy.
second. I was worried that something had happened during that episode that I haven't listened to yet. And you guys are like sworn enemies now.
No, we had a really, really fun time, and we may have even cracked the code on another project, but that's for another day. You just listen to it. You'll hear us basically come up with the idea in real time. But Joel says this. Okay, I got a fun question for you all. Do any of the SWU listen to other Star Wars centric podcasts? A few that I listen to are the Daughters of Ferrix podcast, Tap Calf Transmission, the Raeside, of course, and the Force Center pod. Ben, do you listen to other Star Wars podcasts?
Not as many as I used to. I have cut back. I used to listen to like one podcast, and it was a Star Wars podcast. It was the Force Cast way back in the day.
Mm-hmm.
And I kind of built up, and then I kind of scaled back over the years, and I have a mix of different podcasts to listen to, but like regularly, like, yeah, I do have quite a few that I listen to. I'm looking at my thing right now because I'm like, I can never remember this when I'm actually like just thinking aloud. But like one of my favorites is Blast Points. Love those guys. Got to meet them at Celebration a couple times. Sith List, obviously, big fan. We're big fans of the Sith List here. I listen to, even though it's just their videos just put into an audio feed, but I never have time to actually sit down and watch their videos. Star Wars Explained, I listen to them every week. Star Wars Spelt Out. Talking About 94 is a good one. Who else? Daughters of Ferrix. Joel knows what I'm talking. Joel's the big Daughters of Ferrix evangelizer, so love to hear from them. And one that I've got in my thing that I haven't listened to is Part of Rebellion from the Rebels crew, which I've had in my feed for like a while now. I'm really looking forward to listening to that. Oh, and Blue Harvest, love the guys at Blue Harvest.
Okay, all right, good list of shows there. Hannah, do you listen to any other Star Wars podcasts, or you just do 4 other ones? Did we lose Hannah? I think we did.
Force Center. I love Force Center.
Force Center, yeah. For everybody who's listening, we've got just a freeze frame of Hannah. She's leaned back. She looks like she's listening intently. Oh, now she's
back. My back. Oh my gosh, my wife's like locked out there.
It was incredible. It did sort of look like you were asleep with your eyes open.
Yeah, because I was like, right, was it back here when it's?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
listening.
Oh, that's so funny. That's so good.
Do shows that are hosted by Star Wars actors count? Because I listened to the Sackhoff show too.
There you go. I guess that counts.
Oh yeah. Sackhoff show is good. Podcasts I listen to. Yeah, I don't listen to too many kind of sit down traditional podcasts anymore. I do. I've been really loving. Recently, Star Wars Explained went to Lucasfilm and interviewed like Tony Gilroy. Yeah. Who else was there? Michelle and like all these other people. Michael Wickleton. I've been loving their content covering that. But kind of day to day, week to week. Who do I listen to? Oh, my buddy's podcast. Determined Focused is what it's called. Will Diamond does a Star Wars podcast, Determined Focus. And yeah, he's just got really great takes on everything. So that's kind of what I listen to at the moment. It used to be the Star Wars Underworld, but now I'm here, so I guess this.
It's one less show to listen to per week.
Keep dreaming, kids. You'll be on the podcast you listen to one day.
Oh, and one I forgot to mention. You may have heard of it. I'm listening to it right now before I was listening to this. Ion Cannon. You may have heard of it.
There you go, of course.
It's the episode that you did last time. That's how far behind I am.
You're way back there, way behind.
I'm like 3 months behind.
I also love that Ben just said I don't listen to that many Star Wars podcasts, and then listed about 7, and then has gone, oh wait, and another one 2 or 3 times in this conversation.
But you don't understand. That's like 30% of the podcasts I listen to.
Yeah. So I don't listen to other Star Wars podcasts anymore. Not for any like grand reason or anything. Just stopped because Star Wars was my entry point into podcasts. Like you said, like you've been like a way back in the day, I would listen to the Forcecast when they would have like Dave Filoni on and stuff. And that became like my entry point into podcasts. And then I found other podcasts and many other Star Wars podcasts that I listened to over the years. And then I just reached a point of like saturation where I was like listening to too many. And I decided I needed to listen to other things and diversify. And I also realized that I would then listen to all those other podcasts and then come on here and like have one-sided arguments with the other shows. We'd be like, well, and I know people are saying this, and then like spend the whole time responding. And I thought, no, I should just have my own like original thoughts. So I haven't really listened to a Star Wars podcast in quite some time. The one exception being I listened to the first 2 or 3 episodes of Pod of Rebellion. And if I wasn't doing a series on my Substack where I rewatch all of Star Wars Rebels and include behind the scenes tidbits, I don't think I'd listen to any more of them. I like Taylor and Vanessa and Tia. I think they're all really talented people and interesting people. The show is just, it's not interesting to me. It doesn't hold my attention. But every now and again they drop like a really like fun tidbit, and so like they really get in with just like a little bit of like information, but that you've never heard before. But the rest of it just, it's not for me. It's not for me.
Look, I have learned, and this is things, and I know some of you may know me, and you're like, you don't listen to my podcast because blah blah blah. And I'm like, it's nothing personal with me. Like literally, a pod really has to jive with me. Like I have curated what I listen to because I only have so many hours per week that I can really take time to listen. And some shows, like I know people that I know. Almost everyone I know has a podcast, basically. And like, you know, and there's a lot of them that I don't listen to, and just because it just doesn't jive with my taste. It's nothing good. I think there are a lot of great podcasts that I don't listen to. So it's anything personal. And I do have a strict rule that I go by, which is if it's a Star Wars podcast and they're doing reviews for the new episode of Star Wars and or whatever else, I do not listen to that until after I have done this show, because I just get once it gets in your brain, you just like I can't filter it out and have my own original thoughts, to actually like come on here like think by myself and have an opinion that's all my own.
Yeah, like this, yeah, I agree. If I am gonna watch or listening to something Star Wars related, I want to do it after we've done the show. So yeah, not this good list of recommendations from Ben and Hannah, none from me. All right, let's go to Gilster10, who says, speaking of gangs, I don't know where we got that from, but
I think I think he was just like throwing some questions out there, one that we already answered.
Okay.
So, he was just like in transit there.
Okay, so speaking of gangs, what if Darth Maul and Death Watch killed the Hutt Council in the Clone Wars? Would all the Hutt allies accept Maul or flee to other criminal syndicates? I don't know. This kind of goes into like Book of Boba Fett territory, because we sort of see in Book of Boba Fett what happens when Jabba isn't there. There is like a little bit of a power vacuum, and people are trying to trying to fill it. And I think if you kill off the Hutts, the whole bunch, I think you just get war. Everybody's fighting over that space. I don't think they would necessarily follow their killers. Other people would see it as an opportunity to sneak in there and get some more.
Yeah, I was, I'll be honest, I was a bit confused when I first read this question, because I was like, okay, I thought this already happened, because it does happen. I think Vader wipes out the Hutt Council in the comics, like post Empire Strikes Back, or maybe post New Hope. I can't remember when exactly that happens. So it does happen. I think Glitzer is kind of proposing the idea of just like, what if it happened earlier? Obviously, Maul does go to Nal Hutta with Pre Vizsla, and they kind of wreck house, but I think most of the Hutts aren't there. So they kill one of them. So I think the idea that like they wipe all of them out, and obviously like getting rid of Jabba would be a big deal for Star Wars the Star Wars story, Skywalker Saga in particular.
Mhm.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know because like, it just would have been a thing that happened, I guess, because there was a lot of stuff happening in the Clone Wars, and a lot of stuff happened even off screen for the Clone Wars that we never saw that just impacted things. So yeah, I don't know how. I think it would just caused even more chaos.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I think to the idea of like how that would affect the galaxy. That is, if Din was still here, that is actually my pitch for season 2 of Book of Boba Fett. I think I would love to see Boba, especially that he's got these ties to like now the twins that came onto Tatooine was like, we want it, and he was
The
like,
twins
no,
that were
and they,
there
like,
and then just left for no reason.
yeah, they're just like, okay, well, we tried. I think season 2 could see Boba off planet and go to like Nar Shaddaa and like sort out some stuff with the Hutts and try and kind of continue to break down what's left of their cartel and kind of the Hutt occupancy of a lot of things. So yeah, it's we kind of already saw it, but I think it could definitely be explored more.
Mhm.
Oh, he's still there. He's still here. Yeah, there you go. That's my season 2. Boba goes to Nar Shaddaa and continues to essentially reverse what he was a bounty hunter. He was in all these cartels and doing all these bad things. Now he's got to reverse that also. He's got to shut down the Hutt space essentially.
Yeah, Boba Fett could continue to be the one and only crime lord who is anti-crime. And
yes, exactly.
Wants to
You
go
get it,
around
you get it.
cleaning the streets as a crime lord.
Sorting out that water taxation and inflation. He's got to do it. Someone's got to do it.
He's a crime lord who wants to keep the drugs off the streets. He should just run for mayor of Mos Espa. I think that's my pitch for season 2 of the Book of Boba
Isn't that
Fett.
what he is? Isn't that what that is?
No, there's the whole thing because there is the mayor and him and the mayor are like beefing.
Of course, yeah.
This
the
is
daimyo.
your
Right,
favorite
sorry,
show.
shit,
Why
yeah.
am I explaining?
Oh man.
I want a Star Wars show where they run for the mayor of Mos Espa, and it needs to be just as contentious as the current election for mayor of New York City. I think that's what I'm looking for in Star Wars.
I've had enough. I've had enough of this Star Wars and real life just going hand in hand here. Can we have a little bit of fantasy in my Star Wars?
No. Well, Mandalorian and Grogu might provide you,
or maybe
that.
it's the other way around. Maybe the real life is too much like Star Wars. Would
One or
like
the other.
less of that too.
Mm-hmm. All right. I'm trying to decide. Do we have time to do this? Let's do this. All right. I'm gonna put everybody on the spot here. Technically, it's not me putting people on the spot. It's Joel putting people on the spot.
Oh God.
He says, curious to see what your rankings are for all the seasons. Yes, seasons of Star Wars live action shows from strongest to weakest. Here's mine, and see. He's curious to see if ours will match his. Top of the list: Andor season 1, number 2, Andor season 2, then Mando season 2, then Skeleton Crew, then Mando season 1, then Ahsoka, then Kenobi, then Acolyte, then Book of Boba Fett, and at the bottom, Mando season 3. So, Ben, you're on the spot. Rank them.
I can't even think of them all in my head at once. Like I'm having to go to Wikipedia.
I can write. I made a video on this recently, so let me copy and paste the list for you of all the things.
She's got a leg up on it.
Yeah, I know.
I mean, it's also in the show notes, Ben, that you made, so you could just
is the list
look at
there?
your own. You can look at your own notes here. I mean, that's Joel's list is the list. Andor 2, Andor 1, Andor 2, Mando 2, Skeleton Crew, Mando 1, Ahsoka, Kenobi, Acolyte, Book of Boba, Mando 3. What do you think?
I mean, I think I mostly agree with his list.
Why was there no spaces with that copy and paste?
You're not allowed to have
So
spaces,
sorry.
Hannah. Yeah. It's
Yeah.
Mando's the one. Mando's one Mando. The 2 Mando. The 3 Kenobi. Kenobi Booka. Kenobi book. Kenobi
Fett
book
Andor.
of Boba Fett. Fandor. Fandor or.
I like the last one. Satu Ahsoka Acolyte Skeleton Crew. Yeah. So good.
I mean, I'll take mostly Joel's list. I would swap. I would put Skeleton Crew right under Andor, and Ahsoka right behind it. and then I would move up Mando season 3 a little bit.
Okay, so give us the list. So what's number 1?
Well, 1, 2, and like Andor season 1 and 2, like your 1 and are your 1 and 2. Skeleton Crew at 3, Ahsoka at 4, and then basically that.
Yucky.
Then Mando, then Kenobi, then Acolyte, then Book of Boba Fett, then Mando 3.
Basically.
Okay.
Yeah, don't ask me to get technical here, okay? I haven't had time to prepare for this, okay? Even though this question's been sitting in this notes for like 6 weeks now. I've had ample time to prepare this. I didn't. So
this question is over a month old. It was posted on the 17th of May, 2025 at 1:43 a.m.
Follow me at Blue Sky. I will rank them. I will officially rank them, or I'll go on. I'll use the Letterboxd app and I'll rank them properly.
Okay, so Hannah, you said you did a video on this. So obviously, if people want to get the full in-depth breakdown, they should watch the video.
Correct.
But give us the rapid fire in order.
Yes. I'm worried I'm actually going to somehow get it twisted because essentially,
you're allowed to change. You're allowed to change.
Yeah. Number 1, surprisingly, even to me, Andor season 2, and
there you go.
Very, very close second is Ahsoka, and then I think it was Mando season 2. Kenobi, Kenobi, Book of Boba Fett, Mando season 1, Mando season 3, whatever the shows are there, Skeleton Crew, Acolyte. I feel like I'm missing something, but I know my bottom 2 is Acolyte is my bottom, and then Skeleton Crew, and my first 2 is Ahsoka and Andor season 2. And everything in the middle just changes depending on my mood, essentially.
That's fair. Mine is Andor season 2 is number 1. Andor season 1 is number 2. Number 3, Kenobi. Number 4, Mando season 2. Number 5, probably Mando season 1. Number 6, Skeleton Crew. 7, Ahsoka. 8, Acolyte. 9, Book of Boba Fett. I think that's it.
Can I also just add, I despise ranking things like, in general. Like I've straight up refused for years now to rank the Star Wars movies.
All right, Ben,
I don't care. I don't.
That's the next question. Rank the Star Wars movies. Let's go.
Yeah,
start us off.
No, it's not happening. It's not happening. I refused. I've given up. What's my favorite Star Wars movie? The last one I watched. That's my favorite Star Wars movie.
There you go. All right, there we go. We ranked something for a change. We actually tried. All right. I think that's as good a place as any to leave things. Thank you to Joel and Gilster for submitting many questions over the week. We're still chipping away at those ones, and thank you to everybody who submitted questions for the eventual 15th anniversary show that will inevitably take place closer to the 16th anniversary of the Star Wars Underworld than the 15th.
I mean, we have to get all 4 of the actual hosts on this show for it to happen. And we've been struggling to do that recently. So we'll see when it happens.
Very true.
We'll see how that goes. But for now, we will begin to wrap things up for this week. Thank you, everybody, for listening. Thank you, Din, for being on earlier. Again, check out Resistance Fest. We'll put links in the descriptions of the YouTube video and of the podcast so that people can check out tickets and join us next Thursday there. The Star Wars Underworld will be back next Thursday, live in the usual time and place. So if you can't go to Resistance Fest for whatever reason, you can tune into this and we'll still have a great conversation about all things Star Wars. Ben, thank you for hosting as always. You want to plug anything?
Not in particular. I will just say go to Resistance Fest. Absolutely go. And just stream Star Wars Underworld Podcast on your phone while you're there. You can multitask, okay? It's possible.
Or just
We're living in the year 2025. You can do it.
Just find me and I'll do the whole show for you live. I'll do voices. I'll do impressions. It could be Ben and Hannah and Chris. I'll just do all the voices. Yeah, I'll do the whole thing live. All right.
Special edition.
There you go. Follow Ben on social media at Ben Hart with no E. .bsguy.social. I don't know.
Just search that. You'll find it. You'll find it.
There you go. Hannah, thank you as always. Anything you want to plug coming up on the Raeside?
Nothing too spicy this week, but I'm doing a lot more Saber content, which is really fun in this kind of just interim of no Star Wars content. Just getting really into the Saber field, which is fun. So yeah, just make sure you follow me over on Instagram. It's kind of where I'm posting all my memes at the moment. So yeah, another great week of banter.
So I saw a Saber video that you posted where
Yes.
you were like, I love this Obi-Wan Kenobi lightsaber.
Yes.
And-
oh my god, are you gonna be another one of those damn commenters? That's like, why is it green then? I'm like, have you heard that you can choose your own color?
I was
Oh my
gonna
God.
ask that question. I feel
my
like
God. I'm so mad about that. I'm like, can I just like a color? Is that a crime now?
yes, it is.
Oh, apparently.
But Obi-Wan changed the color of it in the movie.
I should hand in my license as a Star Wars fan right now because I did that. I made that video. Yes. No. Thank you for joining all the other fucking bunch of fans who are like, oh, wrong. And it's like, do you know, like, reality? Have you met reality? It can be whatever you want.
Reality.
Go,
never
as
heard of
they
it.
say, touch some grass.
Yes.
What color should the grass be? Should it be the color of Obi-Wan's
It's blue.
lightsaber?
No, the grass is blue and the saber is green. That's what it is. Yeah.
Oh, incredible. Go follow at the Raeside for more stuff. That's the RAE side.
More
And,
incorrectly colored lightsabers.
And be cool about the lightsabers, for God's sakes. And by cool, I mean complain about the correct coloring.
Yeah. I was like,
That is what's
Be
cool.
mean about it. Amazing.
Be cool is being pedantic and nerdy and not enjoying people having fun with Star Wars,
good.
right?
So
That's
good.
what it is. I will remind everybody to also check out my Substack if you want to read some Star Wars writing. DominicGJones.substack.com. There you go. That's all the plugs for our normal stuff. And just subscribe, review, join the Discord, play video games with Ben. Follow us at the SWU on social media, and check out the other shows on our network, like Ion Cannon, which I was a guest on, talking about the Thrawn trilogy. All right, that's it. Thank you, everybody. We'll be back, or some combination of us will be back in 7 days time. Till then, for Chris, who wasn't here, for Din, for Ben, for Hannah, for all the other lovely people at the Star Wars Underworld. There you go. Okay, I'm trying to do the no spaces thing. My name is Dominic, and may the Force be with you. It's a wrap.